everybody, what's up?
Romy Schneider was a German-French actress whose life and career left a lasting mark on European cinema. Born on September 23, 1938, in Vienna, Austria, she became internationally famous in the 1950s through her role as Empress Elisabeth of Austria in the Sissi trilogy. These films made her a star across Europe, particularly in German-speaking countries. However, Romy was determined to move beyond her sweet and innocent screen image. In the 1960s, she relocated to France and reinvented herself as a serious actress, working with some of the most respected directors of the time, including Luchino, Visconti and Claude Sautet. Her roles became increasingly complex, portraying emotionally intense and often troubled women. Films like The Things of Life, Les Choses de la Vie, The Swimming Pool, La Piscine, and The Important Thing is to Love, L'Important c'est d'aimer, showcased her extraordinary depth and range. Schneider's personal life was marked by tragedy and turmoil. She had high-profile relationships, including with French actor Alain Delon, with whom she shared a deep but often turbulent bond. The untimely death of her son in 1981 devastated her, and she died just a year later, on May 29, 1982, at the age of 43, from cardiac arrest. Romy Schneider is remembered not just for her beauty and charm, but for her artistic courage and emotional intensity. Her legacy lives on in the powerful performances she left behind and in the affection of her fans across generations. Absolutely, Romy Schneider's story is layered with brilliance, rebellion, and heartbreak. Here's a deeper look into her life, artistry, and impact. Early life. In the Sissi years, Romy was born Rosemarie Magdalena Albach in Vienna to a family deeply rooted in film and theater. Her mother, Magda Schneider, was a well-known actress, and Romy followed in her footsteps. At just 15, she made her screen debut, and by 17, she was cast as the young Empress Elisabeth of Austria in Sissi, 1955. A role that would catapult her to stardom and define her public image. Despite the popularity of the Sissi trilogy, Romy found the role confining. She resented being typecast as the sweet, submissive empress and yearned for more challenging material. This frustration marked a key turning point in her career. Reinvention in France in 1958. She moved to France and began a passionate relationship with Alain Delon, one of France's biggest stars. Their relationship, although rocky, lasted for several years and significantly influenced her career. It was Delon who introduced her to French cinema circles and helped her break away from her princess image. Working with directors like Orson Welles, The Trial, Visconti, Boccaccio, 70, and later Claude Sautet, César and Rosalie, Max and the Junkman, she matured into a nuanced, emotionally fearless actress. French critics and audiences embraced her as one of their own. She won 2 César Awards, the French equivalent of the Oscar, becoming the first woman to do so. Style and persona. Romy embodied elegance with vulnerability. Her expressive eyes and melancholic aura made her unforgettable on screen. She had the ability to portray inner turmoil with breathtaking subtlety, often saying more with a glance than with dialogue. Her performances were both raw and refined, an unusual combination that made her unique. She was a muse to many, both artistically and in fashion. Photographers like Helmut Newton and Peter Lindbergh were drawn to her dramatic beauty, capturing her in images that still circulate widely today. Personal struggles and tragic end. Her life was not free from pain. Her first marriage to German director Harry Mayen ended in divorce. Her second marriage to journalist Daniel Biasini also collapsed. The most devastating blow came in 1981 when her 14-year-old son David died in a tragic accident. He was impaled while trying to climb over a fence. Her grief was overwhelming. Although she continued to work, her health declined rapidly. In May 1982, she was found dead in her Paris apartment. While the official cause was cardiac arrest, many believe she died of a broken heart. Legacy Romy Schneider remains an icon of European cinema. The contrast between her early stardom and her later, more introspective work makes her one of the most fascinating actresses of her generation. Every few years, retrospectives of her films bring her work to new audiences, and biographies and documentaries continue to explore her layered legacy. In France and Germany, she is revered not just for her talent, but for her courage, her refusal to be boxed in, her quest for authenticity, and the vulnerability she dared to show both on screen and in life. The French years, emotional maturity on screen. One of the most compelling aspects of Romy's career was her transformation from a sheltered ingenue into a fearless, emotionally exposed actress. This transformation was most evident in her French films during the late 1960s and 70s. Her collaborations with Claude Sautet are considered the pinnacle of her artistry. Films like Les Choses de la Vie, 1970, a quiet masterpiece about love, memory, and fate. Her chemistry with Michel Piccoli is haunting. César et Rosalie, 1972, a poignant love triangle where Romy played Rosalie, a free-spirited woman torn between two very different men. Her performance is radiant, layered with inner conflict and grace. Une histoire simple, 1978, a feminist piece ahead of its time. Romy won the César Award for Best Actress for her role as a woman trying to reclaim her autonomy after an abortion and separation. She also made waves in L'Importance d'Aimer, 1975. Directed by Andrzej Zulawski, one of her most gut-wrenching performances. She plays a fading actress caught in a world of exploitation and passion. It's raw, almost painful to watch, and brilliant. Heartbreak Alain Delon. A lifelong connection even after they parted romantically, Romy and Alain Delon remained soulmates in the emotional sense. Their on-screen pairing in La Piscine, 1969, is legendary. The film, a sensual psychological drama, oozes tension. Their real-life chemistry and complex history practically leak off the screen. Delon was with Romy till the end. When she died, he wrote a farewell letter so moving, it's often quoted as a love letter across time. Part of it read, "You have never left my thoughts. You were, you are, and you always will be, the love of my life." Face mask the price of vulnerability. Romy never acted in the traditional sense, she felt everything. Her personal wounds bled into her performances. She once said, "You must not quote me. I don't know anything. I'm not anyone. I just feel things." This emotional exposure made her luminous on screen, but it also took a toll. She battled depression, loneliness, and a relentless pressure to live up to her own high standards. She was simultaneously adored and deeply misunderstood. Crown posthumous recognition and legacy. A major statue of her stands in Berlin. The Romy Schneider Award was established in 1984, awarded annually to a promising young actress in French cinema. Documentaries like 3 Days in Quiberon, 2018, have reignited interest in her life. That film recreates one of her last interviews, raw, black and white, deeply introspective. Fashion houses still draw from her timeless style. Think oversized sunglasses, clean lines, minimalist elegance with emotional weight. Clapperboard. Where to start watching Romy Schneider? If you're new to her work or want a curated path, try this. Sissi, 1955. For the beginning, her fairy tale debut. La Piscine, 1969, for the iconic pairing with Delon. Les Choses de la Vie, 1970, to see her emotional maturity bloom. L'Importance d'aimer, 1975, to witness her at her most vulnerable. Une histoire simple, 1978, to see her as a woman, not a myth. Haunted by history. A life between worlds. Romy lived between identities, between countries and between eras. She was born during the Nazi era in 1938. Her father, Wolf Albach Reddy, was part of the Viennese acting elite, and her mother, Magda Schneider, was associated with the Nazi-friendly film industry. Magda had worked closely with actress Olga Chehova, who was connected to the Third Reich. Romy distanced herself from this past, but the weight of it never really left her. She once said, "My mother was unable to tell me the truth. That's the worst thing you can do to a child." This legacy influenced Romy's rejection of Germany in her early 20s. She fled to France, both literally and symbolically, looking for a new identity as an artist and woman. France embraced her not just as a star, but as a survivor, a rebirth in motion. Camera iconography and eternal style. Romy's beauty was never just about surface. It was how she carried ache with elegance, a blend of softness and ferocity. She wasn't trying to be flawless, she was real. And that was flawless. Some of her iconic style signatures: silk blouses with messy updos, bare skin, no makeup, and shadows under her eyes that only made her more magnetic. Deep V-neck dresses, bold jewelry, cigarette in hand, a look of someone who'd lived. She was a favorite muse for photographers like Helmut Newton, who captured her in high-contrast, unapologetically strong poses. Peter Lindbergh, who revealed her softness, often in vulnerable, unguarded moments. Even decades later, designers and stylists pull from her archive. She's often mentioned alongside icons like Jane Birkin, Catherine Deneuve, and Charlotte Rampling, but Romy had more mystery. Fountain pen. A few chillingly beautiful quotes from Romy. Memories are the best things in life, I think. I am nothing in life but everything on screen. I wish to present myself as I am. I hate glitter. I am a woman who is human. Lightbulb. Her final interview, 3 Days in Quiberon, in 1981, German magazine Stern did a now famous, brutally honest interview with Romy. It was turned into the film 3 Days in Quiberon, 2018, where actress Marie Baumer gives an uncanny performance as Romy. The movie is shot in black and white, mirroring the original photos. Romy is shown smoking, crying, laughing, collapsing, caught between being a mother, a woman, a legend, and just someone desperately wanting peace. It's not a biopic. It's a mirror of her psyche, fragile, brilliant, exhausted. Dove. Death and mystery. Romy died in 1982. Officially, it was cardiac arrest, but many close to her believe her heart simply gave out after years of emotional wear and the loss of her son, David. There were pills by her bed, but no suicide note. Her ex-husband Daniel Biasini said she had been too strong to take her own life and too broken to live. Alain Delon organized her funeral. He placed a rose on her grave and buried her next to David. Round Pushpin, where she rests. Romy Schneider is buried in Boissy-Sans-Avoie, a small village near Paris. People still leave flowers, notes, candles. It's not just a grave, it's a pilgrimage site for those who loved her, for those she helped feel seen. Filmography highlights. Beyond the big titles. While films like Sissi, La Piscine, and Les Choses de la Vie are essential, some lesser-known works show just how fearless and layered Romy truly was. The Trial, 1962, Der. Orson Welles. Based on Kafka's novel. This surrealist nightmare starred Anthony Perkins and featured Romy as Lenny, a seductive and mysterious woman. Even in Wells' stylized chaos, Romy's grounded vulnerability stood out. The Assassination of Trotsky, 1972, Der. Joseph Losey, a historical political drama where she acted alongside Richard Burton. Her role is small but intense. And her presence is magnetic even amid heavy political themes. Le Vieux Fusil, 1975, Der. Robert Enrico, a haunting World War II revenge drama. Romy's role is limited due to the film's structure. She appears in flashbacks, but her performance is heartbreakingly tender, a woman lost to brutality. La Banquière, 1980, a biopic of Marthe Hanau, a controversial French banker and businesswoman in the 1930s. Romy plays her with power, sensuality, and moral complexity. She's neither heroine nor villain, and that's exactly what makes it great. Family woman boy Romy the mother. Her most private role Romy was devoted to her children, David, with Harry Mahan, and later Sarah, with Daniel Biasini. Despite her career demands, she tried to shield them from the harsh spotlight that had both made and unmade her. Her grief after David's tragic death was unimaginable. He was just 14 when he tried to climb the fence around their family home and was impaled. Romy was shattered. She withdrew from public life, struggled with alcohol and depression, and made only one more film before her own death. In a way, her maternal identity was her most defining, and her most painful. Sparkles the myth of Romy. What she represents. Why does Romy still resonate so deeply? She represents a fierce refusal to be defined by the industry, by the patriarchy, by her past. She brought depth to beauty, not just the sad-eyed starlet trope, but a full human experience, heartbreak, euphoria, madness, resilience. Her life was filled with contradictions, adored but lonely, successful but scarred, glamorous but profoundly vulnerable. She's a reminder that some people feel life more intensely, and pay a higher price for it. Books and biographies. If you're interested in reading more, here are a few resources worth checking out. Romy Schneider. A Star Across Europe, a comprehensive and beautifully illustrated retrospective. Romy, A Life by Gunter Krenn, focuses on her Austrian years and her rise to stardom. Romy Schneider in Time by Alice Schwarzer, built around interviews and private correspondence. More raw and intimate, speech balloon words from those who knew her. Alain Delon. She died because she no longer had the strength to live. She had given everything to life and to cinema, and life took everything from her. Claude Sautet, director. She didn't know how to lie in front of the camera. That's what made her unique, and what made her suffer. A woman out of time. Romy didn't belong to any one era, and maybe that's why she's so timeless. In many ways, she was ahead of her time, in the 1950s. When actresses were supposed to be docile and decorative, she left the success of Sissi behind, choosing art over fame. In the 1960s, she broke from conservative German cinema to join France's cinematic avant-garde, immersing herself in existentialism, sexuality, and moral ambiguity. In the 1970s, she portrayed independent, emotionally complex women at a time when Hollywood was still feeding actresses damsel roles. She refused to be likable on screen, and that made her unforgettable. She had no filter, no PR polish, no interest in playing the game. And it's exactly why she's still so real today. Face mask. Romy as muse, but never just a muse. Yes, she inspired directors. Yes, she was breathtaking on film. But Romy wasn't just a passive muse, she was a force. She shaped her roles, demanded rewrites, added emotional weight. She was in full collaboration with the art she helped create. Visconti said of her, "She has the fragility of glass and the strength of steel." That paradox, that's what makes her genius. In Ludwig, 1973, also directed by Visconti, she returned to the role of Elisabeth of Austria, not the fairy tale version, but the tormented, Gothic empress she really was. The difference between Sissi and Ludwig is the entire arc of Romy's evolution as an actress. Black Heart, the black dress in La Piscine, iconic fashion as character. Let's talk visuals. One of the most iconic moments in her filmography is her poolside look in La Piscine. The simple black swimsuit, oversized sunglasses, wet hair, cigarette dangling from her fingers. It's not just cool, it's a character study in costume form. Detached, aware, alluring, unknowable. That image has been referenced endlessly, in editorials, fashion campaigns, and music videos. Yet no one does it quite like Romy because the glamour came with grief, and you can see it. Fog, the wounded angel archetype. You could say Romy belongs to the same archetypal category as Marilyn Monroe or Judy Garland, impossibly beautiful, talented, and vulnerable women destroyed, or nearly destroyed, by a world that wanted to consume them. But Romy fought back. She didn't play to pity. She kept pushing for authenticity, even when it hurt her. In interviews, she often clashed with journalists. She hated being asked about her beauty. She wanted to talk about art, war, motherhood, her fears, her dreams. She wanted to be heard, not just seen. Crystal Ball, a legacy that keeps living even now. Over 40 years after her death, Romy continues to inspire new generations of filmmakers who study her screen presence and emotional truth. Actresses who cite her as a model of raw vulnerability. Designers who look to her as the epitome of effortless elegance and existential chic. Writers who still try to unpack what made her so magnetic, so unknowable, so unforgettable. She is referenced in everything from Lana Del Rey lyrics to French Vogue spreads. Film projector. Romy wasn't acting, she was remembering. That's a quote from director Claude Sautet, and it says it all. She didn't just play characters. She drew from something deep, something buried. She brought memory to every role, and in doing so, gave her audience a piece of her soul.
Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.